Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the council meeting and declare it open so we can get underway in the time frame required. Thank you all for chit-chatting amongst yourselves. Perhaps we could just get started with apologies. There aren't any apologies today. And I haven't been advised of any declarations of interest. I'd be surprised if there were. And now we move to the draft annual plan 2018. If staff could join us at the end of the table, that would be very helpful. I want to say a couple of words before we get underway, but in order to have a resolution to work from, I'd like to move the staff recommendation, and Andrew would like to second that. And there will be obviously opportunities for councillors to make amendments as we work through this particular session. If we're not able to get this section of the get this resolved, I'm just letting people know what the kind of deadline is, because we have some good work to be doing out at Ngā Punawai this afternoon. So we need to be finished here by 12 o'clock. So we've got a couple of hours, and if that can't be concluded in that time, then we'll just adjourn the meeting and come back later. We'll organise another time for the completion of the work. And obviously we're not signing off on the consultation document today, because obviously what comes out of the meeting today is what the staff will go away and complete the work on the detail of the consultation document, and of course we'll be preparing an oversight, an introduction to it. I thought it would be useful though if I just tried to spell out what we're doing here today in terms of the annual plan, because it is a process that we're required to go through under the Local Government Act. A local authority is required at all times to have a long-term plan in place, and of course the long-term plan is the 10-year plan, which is renewed every 3 years. So it is effectively a 3-year rolling plan. At all times we are in one of the 3 operative years of the long-term plan. So although the 10-year plan is the long-term plan, really there are 3 years that are operative, and they span 2 councils. So the long-term plan was set in 2015 to 2025, but the 3 operative years were the first year of that plan last year, the financial year that we're in now, and the one that we're looking forward to. And each year we have to do an annual plan. Now, and so the 2015-2025 LTP was actually amended last year, but the proposals that we have in front of us today are simply an annual plan, and so they're not an amendment to the long-term plan, and they don't require the detailed consultation and audit, obviously, that will be triggered next year with the 2018 to 2028 long-term plan. And I just wanted to step back in time just a little bit, just for complete understanding of the situation that we're in as a council, because I do believe that the people of Christchurch have never really fully understood the financial impact of the earthquakes and the obligation that we have as a council to contribute to the cost of getting our city back up and running. Yes, government has a role in terms of a contribution, but it is a contribution, and we have a contribution to make as well, and that is something that will continue to face this council year in, year out, I believe, for at least the next decade. So this is not the end of a process, this is a step in a process. But if we go back to the year 2013, the year of the cost-sharing agreement being signed, the Christchurch City Council was, and I use the phrase let off the hook with quote marks, I've been told to actually describe what I mean by let off the hook, and only put in place a 3-year plan. And what that meant was that they didn't have to look out 10 years, but more importantly, it didn't require any external scrutiny, none. And I think that's hugely significant, because the 2013-2016 plan was put in place without the benefit of an audit that would have identified serious flaws and what our consultants subsequently described as, quote, heroic assumptions. And what's meant by heroic assumptions is that when you write into your 3-year plan that you will find $400 million worth of savings, and there is absolutely not one single expectation within the entire council organisation that any of those savings are there to be found, then you can see the kind of situation that the previous council was confronted with in 2013 or 2014 when it began its first annual plan process. And I think it's important to remember why that happened. Nobody was acting fraudulently. Nobody was acting that way, and I shouldn't have used that word because that'll be the headline. Nobody was acting in what they felt was an inappropriate way. The truth is that the government thought that the cost of the horizontal infrastructure spend would be $400 million less than the council thought it would cost. That's where the $400 million came from. It was the difference between what the council thought it had to spend on getting its horizontal infrastructure in line and what the government thought it would have to spend. Well, we've had our independent review of the horizontal infrastructure spend, and actually the government was on the right side of that equation and we weren't. So that in part explains some of the financial challenges that we had to face as a council in the last term. It won't be until we get to it wasn't until we got to the 2015-2025 LTP process that it became clear that we needed a lot more substance in our plan in order to get it across the line with audit. So audit wasn't going to accept a line item that said savings to be found. They weren't going to accept a pushing out of some of the cost-sharing agreement arrangements unless they could see that the government agreed. And that was the pushing out of the stadium proposal. As soon as the government went public and said that we had they said that if the council has to push it out, the council has to push it out. If the government hadn't come to the party on that, we'd have had a challenge getting that across the line with audit. So everything that we did in the 2015-2025 LTP was actually about ensuring that we had the capacity to deliver what we said we were going to deliver as a council. And I won't go into the frustration that I felt with how some of the things that we had to put into that LTP process, how that was presented, but we'll come back to that, because one of the challenges that we have now with the annual plan is that some of the things that we proposed in that long-term plan have not come to fruition. So, but in a way it almost doesn't matter, because next year that's when we will develop the 2018-2028 long-term plan, and that's where the detailed work will be done. So there will be issues that we will debate today, I'm sure, and we'll debate during the course of the annual plan process that really will be more appropriately dealt with in the LTP process, because that will help us set this council on a really good pathway for the operative 3 years, and then a future council to pick that up after that. So as I said, this 2017-18 year, which is under consideration, is the third year of our operative LTP. In the original LTP, the rates impact for this year was an average of just under 7%. Last year we pulled that number back to 5%, and we're planning to go out with a figure that's just slightly over that this time. And the reason why, and there's a couple of reasons that I just want to pick up on. The first is the significant change has been anticipated savings in terms of OPEX. We'd expected the organisation to make higher savings than they were able to. There were significant savings, and I don't want to underestimate the challenges faced by the organisation for a 2% plus 2% plus 2% compounding over 3 years. That's a significant impact on the organisation, and they were able to deliver that. But there were additional savings that were sought, not all of which were able to be achieved, and that has impacted on where we sit right now. The second thing is that we didn't sell City Care. So there was a component of income coming back to the council by way of the proceeds of the sale of City Care. That didn't occur. That's off the table, and that does mean that there are borrowing requirements within CCHL in order to meet capital release requirements. That has an impact on this financial year. I think that the last thing that I want to talk about is just that is the theme of this year's annual plan, which is really delivering the program. In the next financial year, Council is planning to invest nearly $500 million in the city. And I don't think anyone should underestimate that. We've heard time and time again about the Council going out and then having carry forwards and then carry forwards, and it's been hugely challenging for people when they see the council budgeting a large capital program and then not being able to deliver. Well, I don't think that that's what we're facing this time. We've already committed more than half of that, $270 million of that, nearly $500 million is actually already committed. It's work in progress. We can see the Central Library / New Knowledge Centre, I just threw that in there. We can see it coming out of the ground. We can see the work that's progressing on the Town Hall. We can see all of the investments that are going on in terms of community facilities. So you can see that the capital program is going to be able to be delivered. That does put pressure on any changes that we want to make or any adjustments we want to make in order to ensure that we are prioritising pressing repairs and rebuilds in communities that need them the most. So it is a challenge, but this is not the year for the big changes. That's certainly the LTP process. The last thing I just wanted to mention, I know that the last thing I said was the last thing I said I was going to mention, but this year is also the end of the SCIRT program. So SCIRT winds up. And the independent review of SCIRT highlighted for me a disparity between the level of expectation that had been raised in the public eye about what the SCIRT program would deliver and what was actually delivered. And part of that related to the change in standards that was determined by central government partway through the process. And the second element was that there was a misunderstanding, I believe, between the negotiators on both sides of the cost-sharing agreement in terms of what they thought they'd signed up to. I believe that the council thought they'd signed up to all of the earthquake-related damage to roads and pipes being shared, the costs being shared, and in fact what they'd signed up to was an agreement under the civil defence arrangements, which is that the network is restored up to a particular standard. And so that difference probably is the several $100 million that I started off referring to. The good news is that the council will have much more knowledge and information about our city's infrastructure assets than any other city in the country. We're going to be ahead of the game in terms of asset management, which is it really is the catch cry for any council throughout the country, is how do you manage your assets, particularly those that we are utterly dependent on in terms of a resilient city. And the challenge for us going ahead, though, is that we now need to analyse what still needs to be done, and we need to factor that into our renewals and repairs program, which is going to be an enormous challenge going forward. Unfortunately, we don't have to do that in the annual plan. That will be part of what we analyse in considerable detail when we get to the long-term plan. So on that, that was just a general introduction from me, just about where we're up to, so I'm just wondering whether I should be inviting somebody to make a general comment from the end of the table, and I'm getting a nod from our Chief Financial Officer, so I'll just hand over to our Chief Financial Officer. Thank you, Carol.
Good morning, everyone. So I guess what we've got here today is a draft annual plan, and there's been a lot of work gone in both by staff and also by the councillors in getting to this draft today. And we're really pleased that through that process that we've actually worked together with councillors and management to come up with a draft that we believe captures the majority of everything that meets everyone's priorities. I appreciate that with the funding constraints that we've got, that we haven't been able to do everything, but I think we've got a nice balance in there of the priorities.
Very good. All right. So some of the councillors have got some amendments, so I think we should get those on the table. Oh, some of them are still being written.
We had asked if we could get a briefing on what was happening with the master plans, and while we're waiting for those amendments, is that something that
yes, so
we could get?
Brendan will send out an email. He was just typing it as I came down here. Just right?
Okay. I just had one other question. Is it possible just to raise a quick question of sort of a technical or procedural thing? Yeah?
Yep.
Cool. The proposed capital program changes, that the document that we've had circulated, it isn't attached to our agenda, but I'm not quite sure the consultation documents that will be going out, but I think it's actually a really useful document for the community to see what changes are being proposed. And I just wondered whether we could, if there'd be any issue of just attaching that to the published draft annual plan so that people could see.
The consultation document.
Well, I'm not quite sure what we're putting out, but yeah.
The consultation sorry, I thought I explained before. The consultation document is going to be prepared over the next couple of weeks.
Right.
So, and it will come back to us.
Okay.
So you'll see all of that before it is. But yes, I think that information is incredibly useful. That I mean, it was interesting. I had a look at the just reminding myself of the local government act, and the consultation document for an annual plan needs to identify significant or material differences between the proposed annual plan and the content of the long-term plan for the financial year to which the annual plan relates, explains the matters in a way that can be readily understood by interested or affected people, and inform discussions between the local authority and its communities about these matters. And it has to, when it's explaining identified differences, it talks about any explanation of any significant or material variations or departures from financial statements, a description of significant new spending proposals and the costs associated with those, and an explanation of any proposal to substantially delay or not proceed with a significant project. So it's very clear in the legislation that the consultation document is to really help people understand what the changes are and how they and what the reasons are. So I agree with you that, but I think you'll see that when it comes back that that's precisely what we're going to be doing, is just setting it out very simply for people. Right.
Can we put some of them up? And
Yeah, can we get some of them?
The others are underneath.
Eh? That first one, I thought we'd agreed that we would have a review of the Capital Endowment Fund.
yeah, it's at the bottom. Did I see it?
I thought we were just having a note.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we don't need that.
So you don't need the first one? That's okay there?
Don't need the first one.
Right, okay. Right, so the first amendment is that the annual plan consultation, and Deputy Mayor Turner can't move an amendment to a motion he seconded, so... And I also found out that a mover of an amendment doesn't get a right of reply either. Yeah, you tricked me on that one. But I'm really happy for this to be included in the main resolution. So if you could move this into the main resolution rather than amendment. So it's that the annual plan consultation seeks feedback on options to increase participation at council pools by reducing the price barrier, including $2 family days and targeted children's swim education. And so the idea is to, well, I'll let you speak to that, Andrew, since we'll move that into the main body.
Yeah, great, and I'm very pleased to see that in the main body of the resolution as well. But the thinking here really is improving participation at our swimming pools. We've obviously got new pool facilities planned, and we need to make sure that once we've got them there, they're well used by as many people across the community as possible. We're certainly very keen to see a higher level of participation and reducing barriers to participation on the part of families and children in particular. And then there's another part to this, which is swim education. Of course, we live by the sea, we have rivers, we have water courses by where people are living and where children are playing. It's important that children have the opportunity to become familiar with water and to be aware of water safety and to have those swim skills that they need in order to be safe around water. So two parts to this, one around recreation and participation and reducing barriers, and the other around swim education and water safety.
Yep. Glenn?
May I just say one or two words on that?
Yeah, for
I've
sure.
just come back from Sunday it was, the Weet-Bix Kids Triathlon, which obviously involves swimming, and I've attended this for several years as part of council duties. I think just on the participation side of it, with events like that, it literally involves thousands of children nationwide. So for us to enable children to participate more in swimming it's, in my view, not only about safety, it's about what it can do for them in terms of setting future goals. They run across the line, they receive a medal from their sports heroes. It's a great thing. I think those things stay with them. If we want to tackle things such as obesity, increase the health and well-being of our communities, I think it's a great way to do it. I think Councillor Mike's point the other week may not have been pertinent, but I think it might have been relevant too over our network. I think we need to look at that, because on the one hand we're doing what hopefully we're doing today, but we're also spending a lot more on pools. So whether we need to, a quite extent, is revisit that, I think it's important too.
Yep, Tim and then Yanni.
I think we've got to also maintain focus that going to a pool to play may not teach you to swim. Swimming is the only sport that will save your life and can save your life. So I think, for me personally, I think we've got to be very targeted at what we're trying to achieve. I totally support this, but I do think that we've got to really understand what we want to achieve at the end of it. And if it's swimming education versus swimming fun, there are two very different things. Understanding water and learning to save your life in it is actually really important. Thank you.
Yanni?
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was possible to consider that should say at council pools and recreation centres. My understanding was from the information that we had that there was reference to recreation as well as the swimming.
Sorry.
So, sorry, it's just, if you look at page 3, it says all recreation facilities and pools.
City Council.
Cool. Thank you. And then just to speak, if I may, are you okay with that amendment?
Yeah, I'm quite comfortable with that.
Great. Thank you. Well, councillors will recall that I think this was raised a year ago, and I know staff have done some work, and you'll remember the deputation that we had from Green Prescription, who came in and talked about, and I thought quite a heartwarming submission, around incentives for people to keep active, fit, healthy. So this isn't just about children. I mean, children are really important. It's not just about young people, it's actually about people of all ages in our communities, encouraging them to be active, which has huge benefits in terms of health to our city and to community wellbeing. So I'm very supportive of this, us putting the options out for public feedback. I think one of the criticisms we heard last year was that the increase in charges would be a disincentive to people at our rec centres and at our pools. So I think it's really good that we can go out and talk about how we might reduce those costs. So I don't know if the information that we've had circulated will be put in to the consultation document. I guess that's the process that you'll be asking for, and I guess that amendment gives us the opportunity to do that. So very supportive of this.
David?
Thank you. Look, I'm quite supportive of this motion as well. I like the participation role, but I think for me the more important role is post-earthquake we have as a city suffered a loss of our aquatic facilities, and we at this stage have probably got a whole generation that have missed out on learn to swim. So for me, I think giving the ability for every child in this city to have an adequate learn to swim program is imperative. And I think other speakers have touched on the fact that we are an island nation. We are a city that has extensive beach and coastline, waterways, and for me, the notion of doing something that does enable every person in our city to participate in a learn to swim program is paramount. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So now we'll move on to the next amendment, which has got slightly different wording than I think it should have, and that's the CapEx budget for Shirley Community Centre be reduced to, and I thought we'd agreed 70k, and a new line item be added for Redwood Plunket Rooms, not Community Centre, for 30k. Is that right? Yeah. And would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you. So the Northcote project was initiated in 2014 and has been doing some really great work.
No. Shirley Community Centre. No, it's not Plunket. Yeah.
Over the time, they've identified so much need, they actually need a proper community space to work from. The Redwood Plunket Rooms is a small building, but it actually fits the need of this community to allow a drop-in place, and it's well connected to both the Redwood Library and the street frontage. So it's a really good opportunity. Obviously, we need to make sure it can be repaired for the money, but it's a really good opportunity to get this done.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to comment on that? Pauline?
Well, I support that because it is, it's a very good program that they're running out of there. It's actually a nursing activity, I think, as well, and very well supported. Well, and there's actually a dearth of facilities around that area, which is why the Belfast Community Network had to put a temporary building on Sheldon Park about 18 months ago for their facility. So there's a great need for this here, and I think it's a really good solution if it stacks up. So I'm supportive of it.
Aaron?
Yeah, I'd kind of like to ask a question around this delegation of funds, if we could be slightly more radical than we have in the past, and that is take that 100,000, set it aside under the guise of the community board that would then, rather than us do our usual process of fixing our facilities, give them that pot of money and then engage and get the job done, because we've heard for years how the council gets overcharged and blah blah around the costs of our fixing or building anything we ever do. This would be a great chance for a community board to lead the project. It's not a huge amount of money, but for them to engage directly. But I don't know if we can legally, but if we could, this would be the time, with that amount of money being put aside, to see if it can be done cheaper.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do a delegation by way of a simple amendment taken on an annual plan.
Right.
But that is something that the community board should actually seriously consider in making their submission, because each of the community boards will be able to make submissions on this plan. There's nothing that councillors have said or done that ties their community board to any particular position.
So as a council would be open to them coming back saying, hey, we'd like to try and do it this way.
And it may well be that having a bit more flexibility in terms of a line item going to a community board would actually be the solution that we're looking for. So no, it's a very good suggestion, but I won't take that as an amendment right now, but I'm signalling to the two members of the community board that they might like to give that some serious thought.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
So I think Mike is probably the stingiest councillor we've met, and if anyone could do it, it'd be him.
And so if we've got that one, I mean, look, it just might be for ease of sake if we could have Pauline second that amendment. And are people comfortable that I just put that amendment so that we've dealt with that one and put it into the main body?
Just need to remind councillors that the board will need to fund some of this money, especially the 6 months.
Yeah. Or do you want to note that in the resolution so that it's quite clear? Just can you put in brackets after the 30k, noting that the community board will need to fund the assessment of the rooms? Is that right? Okay. So, eh? Oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you. The next amendment is that 400k capex for our share of a citywide bike share scheme be added, and that's been moved and seconded. And I'd like to invite Councillor Buck to speak to that.
Thank you. You will recall at the launch of the autonomous electric vehicle that Simon Bridges referred to this in relation to the next project he would like to do with Christchurch City.
No, can you turn up the sound a wee bit? Or somebody turn up the sound? Sorry, it's just that Vicky's got such a soft voice.
Yeah, right. So, I'll just get closer to the microphone. You will recall at the launch of the autonomous electric vehicle that Simon Bridges referred to the citywide bike share that he wanted to trial in Christchurch as the next project he was looking forward to doing with the City Council. We are looking at a possible three-way partnership to enable a bike share scheme to go citywide. So we have massive investment in cycleways, and one of the public transport components of cycleways is that more people get on bikes. So visitors, people who don't own bikes, people who want to have a try at going on bikes get the chance to actually go on the bikeways and get out of cars and actually change the way we travel around the city. So the concept of this is a three-way partnership. I think it would be terrible if it failed for the lack of us having made 400,000 of capex, which in my view, in my calculations, is about 0.0006. Well, nearly similar on our budget. So it's capital. It doesn't have a massive rate impact, and I'd just like to see us get on and do more stuff in with bikes.
So the rate impact is 0.01.
LTP.
So nothing next year.
No, because CapEx tends to fall into the following year.
Quite right, because you have to borrow it first.
Yeah.
Yep.
Phil?
Well, look, I want to strongly support this too. There has been a current trial which has got 2 months to be completed, but the current indications are that the bike share is being well used in Christchurch already, and we want that to increase. And clearly, as Vicky has indicated, this will add to the whole cycleway network and assist that. And the concept of us being part of an important partnership is really, really important, that we as a City Council play our part. And the other part alongside this too, of course, is how, in fact, bike share can be a very good link with our public transport system as well.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I had Yanni, Pauline, Glenn.
Cool. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with us consulting on this, but one thing I did want to ask is, would we actually get a report around the whole business case, around what the scheme was, coming back to us? Because a number of things that we've approved through the annual plan just tend to then happen without any reports coming back. So, I mean, I like the idea, but I don't know any details of it, and I'm just, wanting to get a reassurance that subject to that being approved through a formal reporting process. Around the business
The Public Transport Joint Committee has requested a business case along with the shuttle.
That business case was agreed to at the last joint public transport meeting.
Could we perhaps make reference to that, if that's the case?
Yep, can we go back up to the resolution? Because, I mean, I agree. I think that it's really important that we make it clear that putting the money on the budget doesn't approve the actual process. It puts money on budget. You still have to come back with the actual project to be approved, but the money's there to approve it.
Thanks. The reason I raised that is that council previously did actually fund infrastructure for a bike share scheme. It never got off the ground, and then the earthquake happened, and it's hard to know whether it was the scheme or whether it was the earthquake. But probably the earthquake did have a significant impact. But you know, it was interesting that I don't think the uptake was what people expected it to be, and we did spend a huge amount of money on putting bike stands in certain areas, mainly within the central city. So I just think it's really important that we see the details of what's being proposed, and so I've got comfort that we are going to get a report back on how that's going to work, because it seems to me it's also the sort of thing that the New City Foundation or external people could possibly be very involved with, and may not actually require a huge amount of ratepayer funding.
I think this is predicated on a third.
Yes, it is.
Anyway,
Yes,
so,
it is.
Yeah. Sorry, I got as far as Pauline. Did you?
A follow on from Councillor Clearwater, the fact that the bike share is up and running now and it's been quite successful, and supporting this will actually allow it to grow. They're innovating, using more innovative technology. You can use your Metro card shortly to actually book it. They'll be having more stations put in and more bikes. So this is just fantastic for Christchurch, and combined with our cycleways, especially in the inner city, this will be, so I'm really supportive.
Glenn?
Yes, I'm supportive, but I'd still like to see some data. So I think that's what Yanni's asking, just over projected uptake. It just concerns me a little bit. I see some of these schemes, I'm not sure what the uptake is, but for myself, I'd just rather have that.
Yeah, it'll come back to a report to council. Did Aaron had his hand up, but
yeah, just follow on from Yanni's point. I do agree with Yanni around this bike share and its amount of usage. I'd like, it's a lot of money, I'd like these things to be kind of fact-based, that we have targets of how many people we expect to see riding these bikes, rather than all these different schemes we keep throwing money at. I think the public really want us to have serious targets and say, hey, there's got to be this many people on bikes by this date, otherwise we call it a failure, call it what it is, or it's a success, but put numbers on it that show that, because a bike share, a third being $400,000, so you've got $1 million worth of bikes, you can break that down to a per ride cost, and if the per ride cost is $30 or something insane, then it wouldn't be a success. But if it's 30 cents, it would be a success. And I think we need to start looking at putting numbers attached to these that have some serious targets.
Yeah, I think that's the intention of having a report back. Tim?
Thank you. I totally agree that we need some info on this and how it's going to go, but I do remember back to that documentary we looked at and was shown with regards to Holland and how it changed and how they went from a car-influenced society, realising that they could not sustain that, to a cycle-friendly and the leader in urban cycling in the world. So they went from cars to cycling. It didn't happen overnight, and I think if we think it's going to happen overnight, we're dreaming, but this is absolutely a strong step towards that. But I do think we need to follow that up with how those steps happened, how we can compare, how we can dodge the mistakes that were made from other societies and make sure we get this right. But I think this is essential to start, but I do want some foundation behind it, as Aaron and Yanni have alluded to.
Okay, so, well, I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Then we've got the next one, noting that since project 15315, Riccarton Road Interchange and Bus Priority Project is unable to practically be delivered in 2017-18, that funding be substituted to undertake project 23079 Rapanui Shag Rock Cycleway Section 2 Aldwins Road to Dyers Road, which is 8.4 million inclusive of 2/3 external funding.
So this is a deliverability issue on the section of Riccarton Road from Harakiki Street to the west. So the section that we're currently working on now will continue, but so it's a substitution because of a deliverability issue on the Riccarton Road. We might want staff to assure Vicky that that's...
It is. Sorry, it is about deliverability, and it's about coordinating with the sewer upgrade along there as well. And the idea is to put some temporary measures in to achieve bus priority up to Clarence, so that we can put some temporary measures from Harakiki to Clarence that'll get buses through better. But the pipes need to be done again, and we need to have a better construction methodology that reduces the impact on businesses. So we need to come back to you with that after the last
Sorry, can I just be totally clear, because Riccarton Road has started and the concept was that it was all going to go
over to Harakiki, so that's all going.
Yep.
This is from Harakiki to
and so the impact of this is, when is that part done?
It's out. Effectively 6 months change.
6 months change.
Yeah.
But this says delivered 2017-18. We're talking about the... Oh yeah, no, 17-18.
So it's not going to be done for a
year. So it's 18, so it's shifting it out a year.
So they'll move to 18.
It is effectively a 6 month shift because it's only delayed.
So why can't it be done?
The pipes need to be renewed, and
they always did.
They haven't got their budget sorted and their design sorted.
So we put a project on the budget.
No, you only put it to Harakiki.
Okay, so this effectively delays that next part by 6 months.
No, it's delayed anyway because of deliverability.
Yeah, okay, but it gets a cycleway. Okay. Okay. All right, do I have a seconder? Bill?
I'll second it. Look, I strongly support this too as a substitution, given that the other project, bus priority one, will be delayed anyway. I think it's important, clearly, to keep our cycleways on track, and we've already got in the annual plan the other part of the cycleway, and so clearly it's time we need to make sure that as soon as possible we can join up the two parts.
Yanni, then Mike. No?
So I understand the intent behind this amendment, but actually some of us have other projects like the master plans that have been deferred as well, and given that we're now hearing that this project is 2.3 million, we've had no chance to actually discuss as councillors around where best that money goes. So I'm a little bit concerned. Like, I thought that we weren't taking money off other wards to put into our own wards. I'm happy to do that if that's what we're going to start doing. But I'd also like to signal that I will propose an amendment to include the master plans that have been deferred in Woolston and Linwood Village to be also brought forward if they can within these budgets. And again, we don't have the detail, so
This is a network project.
sorry, that's fine, but there's $2.3 million that's not going to be in 17-18, so it's a switch. And I just am flagging that there's other projects that could also be switched. And because we've only just seen this now, we haven't had that chance to discuss it. No, we were told that we should find substitutions within our own wards. So, but that's fine. I'm happy if this project isn't going to go ahead for Riccarton Road in that time frame. But I'd just like to ask staff, what would be the impact of bringing forward the two master plans in Linwood Village and Ferry Road that have been deferred, as well as the cycleways?
But why those ones? Why not the ones in Silken? Why not the ones in Spray? Or, you know?
Well, fine, if you want to move that.
It's too late.
So can I get in, because we don't, what's the actual net cost?
I must admit that I'm just a little bit confused as to the master plans. So we've been given some information. There's money on budget for the master plans, yes?
It's been deferred.
Sumner and Ferry Road, are they all deferred, the whole lot?
No, do you want us to answer the questions on the master plans
been
now?
Consulted
well, it
on,
might as well
if
there's going to be an amendment, but I don't think that the amendment will carry, so let's see if we can...
But can I get a question to the financial impact of the switch? Yeah, because we have no idea.
Di, can you answer that question?
I'm not sure if I got the question, but I've got the answer to what the rating impact is of that change. Is that,
yes.
Was that your question?
Yeah.
Okay, so in 18-19 it increases, so that's the first year of the LTP, increases by 0.02. Another 0.02 in 19-20 and reduces the rates by 0.04 in 2021. And the reason for that is that the cycleway was 3 years out, so it's been brought forward 3 years.
Right, so what's the impact on next year's rates?
On the annual plan, nothing, but on another 0.02 on the first year of the LTP.
Right, right.
And in that calculation, Di, the Riccarton Road one is still in the following year?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Just checking.
So 0.02.
Okay, so master plan. Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. Woolston and Sumner. What's been deferred and what's been deferred because of the annual plan process?
So the annual plan process is changed both Sumner and the Ferry Road Woolston, but also a number of other master plans. The quantum change over all of the master plans is a reduction in the proposed spend for next financial year of approximately $5.4 million. And the following financial year, a reduction of about $700,000. About $11 million is proposed to be spent the following year. About $1.2 million is proposed to be spent in financial year 17-18.
So what in Sumner and what in Woolston is not going to be done in the next financial year because of that change?
So what I've suggested is so that money's coded to or tagged particular projects, but depending on the quantum of where the annual plan decision lands, what we would need to do is review what the best projects were within the program of each master plan.
Yeah, Sarah?
Those particular two, though, with Sumner and Woolston, this is post-consultation with the design work already done. So we've already chosen the projects, they've already been consulted on. They were hugely controversial. There was car parking removed, there's bus stops. It's all those streetscape enhancements about us making our village centres more walkable, more pedestrian friendly that we were aiming for. It's those initial projects on the streetscape. And so it's not a case of choosing a project within the master plan to prioritise. These ones are already consulted on. The Sumner one was due to be constructed in the first half of this year so that it would be ready for when the community centre and council library open slightly later this year. We made decisions in a hurry at the end of last year with lots of good information. We'd requested an extra report which cost council money. There was a lot of media coverage over it. So to now defer that work when we'd made all those decisions.
So maybe I've not articulated that clearly. The particular reference to the Sumner ones are in the financial year 16-17, so the 408k and 1 million. 5k is in the current financial year, and you're correct that we've consulted upon those, and I think the next nodding that we're going to go ahead and proceed with those, but they're in the current financial year.
So all of the work is going to be done on the Sumner streetscape enhancements before the community centre opens this year.
So 408,000.
I didn't think that.
255k.
No, the 255 was for the car park. That's
sure,
unrelated
that's
to.
Supposed to actually happen in the current financial year.
Yeah, but the streetscape enhancements needed the 408,000 plus the 1 million the next year to complete that work. But because that million's being deferred, the work can't start. Is that right? Because it's a $1.4 million project. The construction was ready to go.
So, if the kind of question is, can you do everything for $1.5 million less? No, obviously you can't. So, not all of the project can get done for $1.5 million less.
No, it's a 1.4 total, because there was 408,000 this current year and $1 million next year to get those streetscape enhancements done. So that 400 can't be spent in this year if we're delaying the million because it's one project.
Look, I think you guys need to do a little bit more work on this. So if you could just get the specific answers on what has been consulted on, how much does that cost to deliver, and what's on budget when, so that we get a clear picture. Because what I'm hearing is that you're going to bring stuff forward into this financial year, so that will get done, but there's something missing, and I haven't got my head around what's missing.
Yeah.
$1 million worth of work is missing, but I don't know what it is.
There was $1 million taken out of the one that we're consulting on the annual plan year, and put into the 2 following years over 500. But the problem is that's the $1 million that matches with the 400. It's P1.1 in the master plan, which is the streetscape enhancements. So it's building a platform, changing parking, bus stops, that whole lot through Sumner to make, and slowing the whole area down to 30k.
I think the other issue is that in the proposal that we've got, we've been told it's uncommitted, but actually it's been signed off by the community board. It's been through all its consultation.
Detailed design's done.
I can't understand why it would be considered as being non-committed and $1 million taken off budget and put over the next 2 years. So that's, and likewise, I guess the issue for Woolston is the fact that it appears that work has just stopped on the designs. Originally, we were hoping that, the timetable was that the revised designs for Heathcote and Oak would have been back to Community Board in December, and that we would currently be in consultation in February over the revised scheme.
But haven't they found problems with the road?
Yeah.
Yes, but that was we were told that would only be a few weeks before that was sorted.
But it's going to cost more money.
Well, yeah, obviously. But the other two, Oak and Heathcote, which are on budget, still haven't come to the community board for sign-off of the revised scheme. So I just want to know, has work actually have the people that are doing the master plans been asked to sort of hold back doing any work on them until the draft annual plan is finalised? Right. So nothing will be delayed or stopped until the draft annual plan is approved formally and sets the budgets within those master plans.
proposing to delay anything subject to your annual plan discussions.
Okay, then maybe we need a communication back to community over what is actually happening.
Go ahead now, but then there's no funding if
Okay,
this
so-
draft gets approved. Can
we just get some clarity? Can I just give you a bit more time to get some clarity over what's happening, particularly in Woolston and Sumner? And if you could bring that back to the table, I'm going to put this resolution, because I'm going to say they're not dependent on each other. I mean, Yanni, you'll have an opportunity to raise something around plans. I mean, unless you want to use this particular one to move an amendment, which will then deal with the issue, and you won't be able to raise it.
I mean, this is going to be 0.02 on rates, so the question I would have...
No, not on next year's rate. It's no impact on
18-19?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
This one needs to happen though.
So
Repanui needs to happen.
Actually, what would be the impact of having the Woolston master plan put in the 18-19?
I'm not going to have master plan questions. If you want to put the master plan up as an amendment, you won't be able to raise it again. So do you want to make it an amendment to this, or do you want to just wait until we get further information
But
back?
when we get the information back, can staff also find other projects that aren't going to be delivered, like they found with this Riccarton one?
We're not going to be spending 7.3 in the first year on hot water.
It's all going to go out for consultation, and there will be plenty of time for your own community boards. And I thought, don't underestimate the capacity in your community boards to make submissions on the different elements of this annual plan. This is not the long-term plan. It's not a major relitigation of everything that we've got on budget. It is focused specifically on bringing a budget together for consultation. We'll make the final decisions in June. So don't underestimate the opportunity for your community boards to come here and present to the council on things like master plans.
But the reason that it was raised, and this has been raised for months now, is that the community board was unable to have this discussion as part of the prioritisation. If the community board knew that this would be 0.01% or 0.02% of rates in 18-19, it may have actually said that out of that 500,000 that we put aside, that this was a priority. But they didn't know that at the time.
There is nothing that you're proposing that actually aligns. So the bus priority and the Riccarton Road interchange and the cycleways, they all align as part of that whole network of provision in terms of preferring pedestrian,
so do these master plan projects.
Public transport.
It's exactly what these master plan projects were about. But anyway, that's fine. We'll get the information back.
All right, so I will put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. And then the next one is that 30k is put in the FY8.
Cobb Cottage.
Eh?
Is this Cobb Cottage? No.
Cobb Cottage. I thought we'd... Is Cobb Cottage still sitting in there as an amendment?
No. So what's this linked to?
What's this for?
We planned on putting it 7 years out, like we planned on putting it 1 year out.
So we don't need this food.
No, because in the draft, it's pushed out 2 or 3 years, and this is an amendment to only push it out 1 year. Correct.
And also get the money funded to do the stuff that you need to do.
Yeah? So that's okay? Yep. All right, so let's move Councillor Templeton, seconded by Yanni. So I just put that? I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. And then the next one, and I don't know where 800k came from, but be included in the budget for the intersection of upgrade of Harewood, Breens and Gardeners. Moved Councillor Kewen, seconded Ref Manji.
Can we check the...
Springfield Road and St Albans, these traffic lights? No.
No. Look, I'm I'm highly respectful of the fact that councillors all stood for council elections and all had projects that they wanted to promote, and this is the one that Councillor Kewen particularly promoted, and I'm keen to hear from him.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the figure
I'm going to vote for it.
Yes, the figure that I've put up is, well, hopefully NZTA will pay half of the intersection anyway, because we'll be able to put a case to them that the intersection does need the improvements that the people that live in the area want. The amount there is, I looked through some reports on what we've paid for other intersections, and the one at Augusta Street in Redcliffs, which is quite a bit smaller, but still has 10 poles with lights on each of them, which is kind of plenty, that'd more than do us. 6 pedestrian push-button controls, 2 cameras, and 200k of hard works, and the controller linked back to CTOC. That was a $500,000 budget. So when the figure was plucked out of the air of $1.5 million, that just seems excessive, because we won't want 3 times the number of poles. 30 will be too many for an intersection, and 3 controllers and 3 of everything else that's on this list. So I struggle with the figure that was thrown at the project, so that's why I've put that amount. 40 people a year killed in Canterbury on average. The people in this area believe that this is an extremely dangerous intersection. As a council, we want to promote active transport. We want children walking and cycling to schools. This intersection, not many sane parents would let their children cross that intersection on their own. We should also be a wheelchair-friendly city, and I would challenge any councillor here to go and cross the street a couple of times a day for a week in a wheelchair, unassisted. So that challenge is there. I will arrange the chair for you. It won't be electric. You'll have to push it yourself. Yeah, I'll just borrow it. And but that challenge is open to anyone that wants to try their luck there at 5 o'clock in a wheelchair. I have collected a petition. I have 1,669 signatures here, which I believe does give me a mandate to make an amendment in this year's LTP. I don't think anyone else here has collected signatures for their proposals, so have the support of the people that live in their area. And democracy, Madam Chair, is it gives you a mandate when you've stood on something, encourage people to vote for a reason, and I have no doubts that I probably wouldn't be here if I hadn't stood on an issue. It was quite a hotly contested seat where I lived. It was something that I believed in. I put it to the people of my neighbourhood, and they said, yep, we believe in that as well, even though we probably don't like him personally, we will vote for what he's standing on.
I can't imagine.
So I have no illusions about that. So that is my case, and if anyone has any questions, feel free.
Can I just make a comment about the budget?
Yep, I'd like to invite the Chief Executive to make a comment about the budget.
Yes, so without any expertise in this area whatsoever, our technical people haven't just plucked a figure out, but there are other things that may not have been in the Augusta Street intersections, such as island refuges or other changes to curb and channel and so forth that might need to be included. So just be aware that it's a... 200,000 of those weeks. Right, well, what I'm suggesting is that 800,000 may not be enough if that's what staff have indicated that it's higher than that.
And it does depend on whether NZTA funding.
That's right.
You know, because the NZTA do not have to fund everyone, and this is this is in a medium-high collective and personal risk values area, but it's number 94 of the top 100, which means there are 93 intersections that actually...
Which was an interesting number as well, because 2 weeks earlier when we had a briefing at our community board, it sat in the 70s. So these numbers obviously fluctuate quite regularly.
I'm glad you mentioned the community board, because I think that's where the work is going to have to be done. But anyway, Jamie, and then Pauline, and then Phil.
Thank you. Well, through the chair, I have real sympathy with you on this, Aaron. Like, as a councillor, you know, I'm not here to help other councillors on election promises or anything like that, but I do know a bad intersection when I see it, and I agree with you. It's absolutely horrendous, and I believe that, you know, probably the statistics don't marry up to something that suits your argument, because, you know, Darwin's theory has been quite true over a number of years, and silly people are killed off, and there aren't so many people that are that stupid to try and get through there, because realistically we tried to do it with the mayor and a number of other councillors, and we gave up after 10 minutes. You go through it if you had a death wish. So I completely agree with you. However, I sit here empathising with you, but I do feel that it's just not going to be the best process. I sit around and I look at, you know, comments coming from Pauline and Phil, and they don't disagree with you, but it's not going to pass by plucking a number out of the sky and chucking $800,000 at it. And if we want to get the outcome, I'm sure that we can get some sort of middle ground where we can actually do the groundwork, where we're not plucking numbers out of the sky and we actually have real tangible figures and perhaps a range of options that we could consider. So I want to help you, and I think that the will of the council is here to help you, but I don't think this is going to fly, and I implore you to perhaps seek another avenue to be able to get the work done on this, so we have real information that we can make real decisions around, because you'll have my support, and I suspect that you'll have our colleagues' support. So I just wanted to signal that through the mayor and see if there's another route that we could get so we could have tangible information to make a real difference on this, because I'm with you on it.
So this is the last one before the community board.
Don't know if that's the question
I
you want to
absolutely
ask.
support what the Mayor and Jamie have just said. The process for these sorts of things is to go through your community board, and it's a long process. You've got consultation, you've got designs, and you've got you know, all sorts of things to go through, and then you bid for your budget. So there's a lot more work to be done on this, Aaron, and I'm with Jamie. If it's a dangerous intersection, absolutely, let's move on it. But let's stick to process here and use your community board to do the work for you in the beginning stages.
Phil?
I agree with the previous speakers on this. Look, if you do bad process, you end up with a bad job. And this is not good process at all. People want a good job, and there are also lots of other competing intersections which are either are difficult in terms of their safety or how they work. So, and I think Leanne referred to the issue of NZTA funding. This would have to qualify. We don't know if it would or not, and it seems to me that clearly we have to do a lot better than just plucking a figure like this, which won't necessarily work at all. So will be voting against the amendment too.
Andrew, then Glenn.
I've got no problem whatsoever supporting a road safety project when it's required. I've got no problem at all supporting a community to find a solution to something in their neighbourhood which is a concern, and supporting a community board and the local councillor in finding that solution. But at the same time, we do need a good, robust process to arrive at the correct conclusion. And I've got no doubt that we can run that process in time for this to be included in the final annual plan, if that's in fact what is required and what's supported. But to put 800,000 on budget today, without any robustness around the figure, and without any technical staff reporting that supports that position, I think is dangerous both to the project and also as a process matter anyway. So to get a good outcome, I think what we need to be doing is making sure that we've got the correct staff advice alongside this to support it, a robust figure so that we put the right amount on budget. I've got no doubt that we'll hear from this community as part of the annual plan consultation process. If we don't put this in today, and if they want us to put it into the final annual plan, what we really need to be doing, I think, today is to be taking the fact that this amendment has been moved as a signal from that community that yes, this is desired and the community feel it's necessary. Exactly what the project looks like and exactly what it's going to cost obviously remains to be seen. I would rather make the decision at the time of the final annual plan in June on the basis of hearing from the community, hearing from the community board having gone through the proper process, and some robustness around what's proposed and how much it's going to cost. So whether that means that we should be foreshadowing a further amendment that calls for that report and that process, so that if people are voting against this today, they feel comfortable. They're not saying we don't want this to go ahead. We're just saying we need a proper process to arrive at a more informed decision. my view is that that probably would be a better way forward than simply putting this on today. Certainly doesn't rule it out, but it just ensures that we go through a good process to make a well-informed, robust decision in time to get this in the annual plan, if in fact that's the right outcome.
Glenn?
Thank you. I think having a fallback position would be good, Aaron, because I've learnt the hard way. If you go all the way with something like this, you don't get it. You don't have anything left. So we look at Pages Road. The board wants the reinstatement there from Anzac to the bridge. The recommendation is at the moment one footpath on one side. So I think it's good just to have that fallback. Otherwise, if you burn it all up by not getting the support here, then it could be lost. So perhaps a report on which to make a factual decision would be good.
Well, I'd be happy to accept a foreshadowed motion if this fails, that options for Breens Road, Gardners Road, Hayward Road intersection, or what substitutes for intersection, be considered and reported back to council in time for consideration in the final annual plan decision. So, I mean, if somebody would like to foreshadow that, Andrew and David, then, so we'll see how the resolution goes, but we've now got a foreshadowed motion that options for Breens Road, Gardners Road, Hayward Road intersection be considered actually by the community board, I would say, and reported back to council in time for adoption in time for adoption in this annual plan. That just enables the community board to consider all of the options and bring them back in time for consideration in the plan process. And that way we'll know the actual number, so that we won't be talking about whether it's 800,000 on budget or whether it's 1.5 or whatever, and we'll kind of know whether it qualifies for NZTA funding as well. So, sorry, did you want to speak? Right, okay, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I support this. I mean, I think the process thing is fine. This has been a process of democracy, and the community has already been consulted and spoken in very high volume. How many people you got there? 1,600? Well, I haven't seen any other project where you've had that kind of feedback from the community, so I think it's absolutely the right process. That's what he got elected for. That's what he should be putting forward. In terms of the budget, we've just been through this with a signalised crossing on Sawyers Arms Road, where the budget was woefully inaccurate. It was way too high. We actually advocated for a lesser crossing, which was a zebra crossing, because there's only about 100 people a day use it. NZTA said, oh no, it's really dangerous. We've got to have a signalised crossing, which is more money. Now, if you go and look at that, that's not even close to the crossing that we're talking about here. So I don't see that there's an issue with process. I think I've got some issues with NZTA, which I think I'd like to flush out a little bit further. But I think this is exactly appropriate to go into a draft annual plan, and then we can discuss it through the submission process, and then perhaps nod out the budget piece. It doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be done, but the people are going to be able to have their say on it.
We've got 1,000 people now want to speak to this. So, no, well, okay, but we're going to have to adjourn the meeting and come back if we don't get through the meeting. So if everyone wants to talk to this and not talk to the rest of it.
I'd like to say.
Jan, did you have your hand up for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better to have stuff in the draft annual plan for people to submit on. And I mean, all that's going to happen if we don't put in the draft annual plan is all the people are going to make submissions and petitions, and so we'll just end up in the same point of view from having to make a decision on it. But I think it's important that part of the draft annual plan is actually responding to community concern. Now, I think it's entirely appropriate for councillors to be able to raise individual projects in their wards that they know that the community feels strongly about, which is what Councillor Kewen is doing. And it's much better, I think, to put it on budget and signal that we're going to do it rather than wait for the end of this process. I do think, that we should be looking at how we design our traffic intersections. 19, 20 traffic lights here, probably not the ideal thing, and probably very expensive. So it would be good as part of that report to get some information back around how we can design these things, because it may not need to be the sort of Rolls-Royce treatment. It could, be some quite simple intersection improvements. So I'm really happy to support this. I hope that the councillors will support other projects in wards where councillors feel strongly about it. This is our opportunity as elected members to get things into the budget, and I support us doing that as part of this process.
And Sarah?
I'm feeling, thank you.
You've already spoken, Jamie.
I've got a question. Well, actually, I haven't. I asked a question.
No.
Can I?
Well, no, I didn't debate it, did I?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what you think debate is.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It was a question.
Oh, okay, well, wait. Anne, Sarah, Jamie.
Okay.
Sorry, Anne.
That's all right. I feel a little bit bewildered by this. I'm a new person, obviously, and I'm often feeling bewildered. But at the moment, from my perspective, we've spent days, hours consulting with community, getting feedback to make decisions about what is included here in this annual plan. And now we seem to be throwing things in at the last minute without any respect to that consultation process or to the enormous amount of work that staff have done to bring us this. So it seems to be, from my perspective, a little bit of an unfair process if we allow things to be added in at this point. Even though they may be very worthy, I feel that, I just feel unfair. There's probably a zillion things that I could throw in here at this point, but I'm not going to because of the process that we've been through.
Sarah.
Thank you. I find myself in a position of actually supporting this, even without a report on at this point, in the similar vein to we supported the bike share going in without a business case at this point, knowing that that's going to come in the meantime. And I think that process-wise, those are both similar, different amounts of money, both very worthy, and I think that it's much easier to submit on something that is in a draft than it is if something's not there. And so I'd like to see a report come in the meantime, letting us know how much it would be so that we can alter that in the final meeting, but actually have some money there in the draft so that people can submit on it properly. Thanks.
Jamie.
Thank you. This is a tricky one because, I agree with everything that I've heard here. I actually agree with the foreshadowed motion, and I also agree with Aaron. If I had to pick somewhere, I'd probably side more with the Mayor on it because I think that it's following proper process. Also, what we heard prior to Sarah or Anne saying around that it can be unfair when you pluck things from the sky and put them in at this stage. I just don't feel that the process is an adequate one to give us the desired outcome that we all actually want. I think it sets a dangerous precedent, particularly when you start allocating a number in the budget based on an educated guess at best. Though in saying that, I do think this is a worthy cause, and I think that the Mayor's suggested a really good foreshadowed motion around this, and I almost wonder if the mover, Aaron, would consider somewhere in the middle. So I'm not going to support it as it stands at the moment, and I'm going to side with the Mayor because I think that that's better process. So the foreshadowed motion will have my support, but I would support Aaron if he included in it at the end of his resolution that 800,000 be included in the budget for intersection upgrade of Harewood, Breens, Gardeners. Look, that's just putting a number on there and we're going to have a conversation with the community, so it's not necessarily spending it, and an options paper prepared prior to the adoption of the annual plan, including potential signalisation and alternative safety measures. So that is going to give us the real numbers, not just say, I think it could be 800,000, because that's what other things have looked like, which is ludicrous in my view. So I think that the Mayor is actually correct with this. I support Leanne, but I think if Aaron could come around to actually having a proper paper prepared on this, which we brought back to us at the adoption of the annual plan, then it would have my support. And I think that's a combination of the two. So if Aaron would consider that, I'll support what you've got there. If not, then I'll roll with the foreshadowed motion that the Mayor put up, which I think is the better way to go if you won't put that in.
Jimmy.
Because I'm particularly concerned if, because we review and focus on this third year of the long-term plan, amended long-term plan. So if we are not go to the proper process, I think, it's everyone we can, to point out some of the, local area have a kind of the safety issue or have any concern. For instance, I can say quite a few from the southwest area, intersection of the Springs Road, Amis Road, Avatia Road. Even this also is a kind of minor, the arterial road. So probably more than 10,000 a day, the motor vehicle will pass through. This also is a kind of bigger concern. We still need to through the proper process, especially the council particular emphasize, we continue to ensure, it's a prudent and sustainable financial management. If by this 800,000 K, if we every the council just on behalf of their kind of local as a council, probably today will increase. I'm not sure, maybe $10 million, etc. But still possible. Original all the long-term plan we particularly emphasize. We kind of fight to keep the 5% percentage increase our rates. If we increase right now is 5.5 for the next 3 years. So I'm particularly concerned that this kind of issue. We still need to through the proper process, get a more comprehensive information, then we make decision.
Tim?
Thank you. Look, every councillor here has traffic issues in the wards, and there are all. This is what 94 on the list. So we've all got intersections that are concerns to our communities. So if I'd known that, like it was about going to get signatures, I would not be sitting on RMA hearings. I would not be sitting on hearings that I'm required to do as a councillor, which some of us do more than others. I'd be going out talking to my community at the many intersections that we have in my ward and the neighbouring wards, which we're fully aware of. So I don't think it's the proper process. I have sympathy for your intersection and many others and others throughout the city, but this is not the process to go through. And as Anne said, we have been going through quite a process with this. I don't believe this is the right way to go, but I do believe that the list of intersections should be revisited.
Right, well, before I give Aaron his right of reply, I'll say that the reason that I was keen for other councillors to foreshadow an alternative to this is simply through process. I understand why Aaron feels that he has to put something into the budget, but if something's in the budget, my experience is people don't submit on it because it's there. If it's not there, and we've had this debate in the public arena, then the people in that area will know that they need to get in behind Aaron and support the change. But I don't think that we would be I actually don't think that we would be in compliance with the Local Government Act to pass something just on the strength of a petition rather than basing it on actual analysis of what the alternatives are. We're obliged to consider alternatives. I mean, has anyone actually thought of shutting off the island in the middle and making it a left-only turn for the traffic and putting in a pedestrianised crossing which would enable children to get across on their bicycles, which is what the issue is, I'm told, and someone in a wheelchair would be able to get across the road easily and have all traffic stop for them, and they'd be able to stop in the middle safely, even if it meant another traffic cycle change, if there aren't pedestrians on either side. So, I mean, all these things should be considered, and we shouldn't go straight to a solution just because we've got a petition worked up. I mean, gosh, I can work up petitions. I've done that most of my life, but I was a member of Parliament when I did petitions, and they were very effective. We got law changes as a result of petitions, but that's because we got the work done behind the scenes by the officials. So they went away with the people's ideas and then came back with actual legislative solutions. I can't go straight to putting money on budget for a project that's 94 on the list, what happens to the other 93 on the list? And maybe the fact that the focus has been on this one, because this will get headline news, I'm sure, and if that's the case, then maybe people who live in other areas of the city will want to put up petitions about the areas that they think should have priority. I think it might be safer to close this as an intersection, because for me it's ineffective as an intersection, and just putting a set of traffic lights there won't necessarily make it safe for cyclists or for people in wheelchairs. So I'm going to oppose this, and I intend to support the foreshadowed motion. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Oh, sorry, Aaron's right to reply.
Yeah, well, there's a headline for you. Mayor suggests closing intersections to make them safer. That would work quite well in some of them, and that's one that NZTA use a bit. As far as the process goes, I agree with Raf. This is the process, is that you put stuff forward for the annual plan. At the meetings we had upstairs in the Mayor's Lounge, our community board did support this. We didn't put it in the other one because it didn't fit in the community facilities budget, because it doesn't go there. What is right, and I'm kind of dumbfounded. First, I'm a little offended that when you mentioned the petition before, that there was a laugh from the people in the room who collect petitions to get their way, and that for me is almost offensive, that 1,669 people in my community have signed a piece of paper believing in something that they're signing for something they want in their neighbourhood to make their neighbourhood safer. And I know I'm not allowed to say that they do pay the most rates in the city. They put the most in and ask for the least amount out. I'm not meant to say that, so I won't. But this here is the process. It's only the consultation document on the annual plan. It's not the signed off annual plan. Let the people come back, speak to us about whether they do want that intersection. And maybe if there are all these other intersections that are more dangerous, then councillors should be bringing them forward. Where's their responsibility? And I look forward to the day that the First Family sue a council when the public had asked for an intersection upgrade or a corner to be changed, and then when they lose a member of their family because of the built environment, bring it on. It needs to happen, because when I went to on the 22nd of October last year for the Victims' Day in Hagley Park, where the 40 families of people killed on roads in Canterbury, and a number of them are because of the built environment. When we know of built environments that are dangerous, we have a responsibility to fix them, and the people of this neighbourhood are asking that we fix it, and all they're asking for at the moment is that this goes into the consultation document, not that we put it on budget. There is a process where a proper budget will be drawn up and put into the annual plan before it's signed off. Of course that has to happen. That is part of our process and the way that we do things. And for people to hide behind things like, oh, it's not the right process, I think it's actually rubbish. We need to start listening to our community, and because I've heard a number of people at this table go, it's about grounds up, let's hear from the community. Well, 1,669 of them we did hear from, and I do respect every single one of those signatures that are on there. And so that's why I put it up to go into a draft document. This is not being signed off yet. It won't be signed off for months yet until we hear back from some of these people and their stories. And our process of the way we do intersections, why it sits in the 90s, is rubbish. We wait for people to be killed at intersections, then they jump right up the list based on fatalities and serious accidents. That is wrong. When a community knows something's dangerous, we should listen to them and fix it.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. We'll have a, yeah. When's it going to work again?
The technology in here is being slowly worse. Right. I'll just call out councillors' names at random. If I can get a yes or no. So Councillor Kieran?
Yes.
Councillor Galloway? Councillor Chen? No. Councillor Davidson? Yes. Councillor Cotter?
No.
The Mayor?
No.
Councillor Turner?
No.
Councillor Scandrett?
No.
Councillor Goff? Yes. Councillor Buck?
Yes.
Councillor Livingston?
No.
Councillor East?
No.
Councillor Clearwater?
No.
Councillor Johansson?
Yes.
Councillor Sweets?
No.
Councillor Templeton?
Yes.
Councillor Mangy?
Yes.
And that's lost.
There's a foreshadowed motion, and I'm wondering whether the two people that foreshadowed it, who were Andrew Turner and David East, if they would consider adding some words that say that options be considered by the community board and reported back to council in time for adoption of this annual plan, and that the matter be raised in the consultation document, so that there is a clear steer in the consultation document that we do want to hear from communities in relation to the question of this intersection. Are people comfortable with that?
I don't see why, in light of the debate, we shouldn't have intersections generally. We have referred to several others, so I'm happy with it if it's...
And that the matter of intersection intersection safety be raised in the consultation document.
Check. I'm still a little bit confused about the cycleway going through here. So my understanding was the rationale previously when Aaron raised this was that we were going to do it as part of the cycleway that was going through this area, and that work hadn't started. I thought one of the questions I had was...
Can I just say, look, we've got a foreshadowed motion, which I'm just now going to put.
Well, no, I just want... The only reason...
Because it doesn't matter. It will be dealt with by way of this. You don't need to know the answer.
The reason I raised that is I was concerned that cycleway might be deferred in the annual plan. So I just wanted to check if that part of the cycleway is being deferred in the annual plan, because it would seem sensible to me that actually you should do it at the same time. So
it just asks for options for the intersection to be considered by the community board and reported back to the council in time for adoption of this annual plan. That's asking them to do it in the next 6 months, and that this matter of intersection safety be raised in the consultation document. I'm just going to put that because it was a foreshadowed motion. We've already debated the issue.
Can we have the matter of intersection safety rather than this matter?
And that the matter.
Yeah, so that it's more general.
And that the matter, yeah. Yep.
Look, when we do big projects like this, and this will be a big one, I don't even know if we could get that information back in time. I mean, there's a huge amount of work to be done there. I just would like that answer from staff. Are we asking for something that's deliverable or not?
Well,
we're asking something big here.
We've asked for options for an intersection to be considered by the community board and reported back in the period of
4 months.
4 months.
Which is not very long. I don't know. I need a steer on that. I think it's a big ask, personally.
It may not be the, excuse me, Chair. It may not be the final options, but it might be either a process, or it might be that we consider this in line with the cycleways. So there could be a number of options that then could determine what work needs to happen.
Yeah. So is options or a report?
Options or?
A report.
A report.
Might be better. Oh, you won't. I mean, that's a big ask in 4 months. Personally,
Well, isn't that falling back on the community board to sort that, to work staff to sort that? So.
Well, I think that it's not fair for us to ask something that might be too difficult to deliver in that time frame, I think. But just some guidance on that would be welcome.
Well, we're going to raise the question of intersection safety in the consultation document. There is no question that Hereward Breens Gardner's intersection is going to be a focus of attention. I don't see that there's anything wrong with asking the community board to get something back to us by the time we adopt the annual plan, so that we get a very clear steer in terms of actual advice. By then we'll at least know the numbers, so we won't be talking about estimates, we'll be talking about known numbers, and we'll be talking about whether there's more than one option.
Why don't we just ask staff to do it? Why don't we cut out the middleman? Because the
Because
community
I
board are
don't
only going to
think
ask
that
staff anyway.
I don't think that the community board should not look at what the options are ahead of it coming back to the council. Is that
But
a
they can be
lazy
kept in the
community
loop. It's
board
just
or
that the
something?
community board is only going to do what
You
we
a
have an
lazy
opportunity to do now.
community board.
No, but we want to save time because the community board, we're efficient community board. Instead of just going and doing what we could actually do right now, all the community board's going to do is ask staff.
I actually would like the community board to seriously look at that, because the clear message I got was that none of the other intersections are a priority over this one, and I'd like the community board just to reflect on that and have a look at it.
Okay.
I mean, it may well be that that's what you come back and say, but and you'd have some actual costs then too as well. Is it a question? Yeah.
I was just wondering what we mean by the matter of intersection safety be raised in the consultation document. Are we...
I was trying to be sensitive to
I'm just saying
point, which was that he would like to see something in the consultation document.
No, absolutely about
But
his
colleagues
intersection.
have said they'd like to see something a bit more generic than just the focus on one. And I agree with that. And I'm happy to craft the actual language that we will use to describe this, because I actually find it a little bit offensive to have it described as not caring about what a whole lot of people
I was just wondering if
signed on a petition.
I was just wondering if what that meant was that other people during the consultation process would be putting forward other intersections that they would like, just in the submission process rather than around the table.
The focus on intersection safety will be about how we prioritise intersections.
I just wasn't quite sure.
I think that will then result not only in the Hereward, Breens, Gardeners communities to reflect on the proposal that's being put forward in relation to that intersection. I think there will be others as well, and I think it's about time we had a proper public conversation about why priorities are applied. And if the public don't agree with the process for setting the priorities, then that gives us a very good basis for moving forward. But I don't think that we should have intersection by intersection determined by way of an opinion poll. It doesn't work. So, but that because I mean, all it would do is just invite everyone to say who can get the most signatures for a particular intersection. I'd much rather have a conversation publicly about how do we allocate priorities to the various intersections that we have. Some are very safe, some are not so safe, and some, their safety could be assured in ways that aren't necessarily as a result of traffic lights being put on. We put on traffic lights an awful lot, but people get knocked over at traffic lights as well. Did you have a question?
Based on the mayor, the explanation, whether during the consultation document, we need to specify that clearly. Maybe some intersection, my understanding, because they are low priority, they put into budget maybe in the 2022 to 2025, for the long-term plan, etc. If we consultation, whether need to specify clearly each intersection, whether need to feedback from the wider community, then we know we need to reprioritize. Maybe some intersection, any budget in there. But how do we do the consultation?
What I'm proposing is that the matter of intersection safety in general, that's how we prioritise intersections for the different work that's to be done. That's what's going to be raised in the consultation document. It's not intersection by intersection, but we want the Hereward, Breens, Gardeners intersection to come back explicitly before the adoption of the annual plan.
How about the other intersection?
No.
Only this?
Only this one, yeah.
Looks to me a big piece of work. I wonder whether it needs to go back through the ITI committee.
No,
in all honesty.
Look, I've got a foreshadowed motion, and I'm going to put that motion, and I'm just going to put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. That's carried. Pauline Gardner opposed. Right.
Cotter.
Oh, Gardner. Where did that come from? see, I talked about my time in Parliament, and I went right back to 1990 when she got elected for a few days and then got replaced again by Fran Wild, who won on the recount. I don't know where that came from. I apologise, Pauline. All right, so now we've got the actual resolution, and we've included all of the amendments associated with the community board projects that we've been through. So they're all listed there, and we've had that moved and seconded. So I will open that up for debate.
Additional information on the master plans.
Sorry.
I thought we were going to get additional information on the master plans.
My apologies. I wasn't trying to avoid it. Do you want to come back and answer the questions on the master plans?
So we've talked about the Ferry Road master plan initially with the project manager, and basically Ferry Road, now they've gone into further design. There's real issues there with concrete, basically almost potentially doubling the cost of the project. And so now they need to go back and look at further design changes and consult again in terms of coming up with more innovative ways to take care of a lot of the concrete that's been found along Ferry Road. Tram tracks. Tram tracks, yeah.
Skirt, and it's in horrendous shape. But those designs were supposed to be approved by the community board in December. Right. Is work still able to progress on those? And I mean,
the note hasn't changed.
Basically, what happened when the Woolston Village plan came back to the community board, because the proposal was to take away most of the on-street parking, there was a petition, 700 people. The businesses, the public submission they liked improving it, but they didn't support the on-street parking being removed. So the community board asked staff to come back with a revised design that incorporated the parking project that was in the master plan with the entrance treatment and the Heathcote and Oak Street. So a sort of holistic approach. Can that work still happen in the meantime as we go through this draft annual plan process? Can we still go back and consult with the community over what was suggested and agreed to with the community board? Or is that going to be put on hold?
I'll have to get back to you on that, Yanni. I don't have an answer for that at the moment.
See, that's what concerns me, because I mean, it's been really hard to get information back to what's actually happening. Our board's been told that the community board, that the consultation has been put on hold because of the draft annual plan, and it just seems to me that that's a real shame, because that's just going to defer this project even longer when there's a community expectation that things will keep progressing. So
look, we've got time between now and when we've I mean, we're signing this off for the plan, but can we just carve out some space for these master plans so that we can
17 and 21 March.
Yes, but
but in time for the consultation document to focus on well, not focus on, but to just highlight these areas of what's actually happening with the master plans. I mean, I have a particular view that may not be shared by everyone around some of the, the approaches that were adopted. I mean, Harold, some of them are 4 years old now. They're really, some of them are out of date. But you're right, there are some that have been consulted on. There's agreement been reached that a certain approach will be taken. I think the increased cost for Ferry Road because of the concrete and the tram tracks doubles the cost to about 3.2 million, which is a huge ask, when the pressure's on the plan at this time. So I kind of don't want to say an absolute no to something when we don't have all of the information in front of us, but
so what I don't want to happen is work just stops on it because the budget has been proposed to be deferred when there's an expectation that work will keep going. And at the moment, what appears to have happened is work has come to a halt until the draft annual plan is approved on the 1st of July, which means we lose months.
No, well, I don't want that to happen. So how can we take this forward without holding this up?
So there's still money in this year's, so we can come back in terms of a proposed revised timeframe, given the discoveries, so to speak, of the additional costs and what's been thought of in terms of design changes.
So we've done with the one of the previous ones, can we get a report back to at the end of this process on what's happening with the master plans? Because I would actually like to, the cost of actually putting the Woolston one, the existing budget, bringing it out a year is minuscule. It's probably like 0.002% on rates, but the message it sends to the community is that we're delaying it, and at the moment that's what it appears.
But the concrete and the tram tracks issue looks set to double the cost to about $3.2 million. Well, the public can't expect us just to find the extra.
Well, except if you take like North Avon Road, which is a renewal, which we have deferred, that project has also doubled in cost, and that hasn't come through any sort of process around that. It's been put on budget. So there is a way in which we're costing these things that needs to be looked at.
True.
But removing the existing funding or putting that out makes it even harder to get progress on this issue. So can I ask that we get a report back on
by when?
Well,
in time for the adoption of the annual plan?
Well, I think in terms of the consultation document, because that's a document that says to the community what we're doing and what we're not doing.
When's the consultation document to be completed by?
It's a couple of weeks.
Isn't it coming back to us? Is it coming back to council on March the 9th? So could we...
Because I think in the consultation document, we need to be explicit to our community what we are or not doing with our master plans.
Yeah.
And at the moment, it's just been lumped in with the intersection safety improvements, and it's very hard to see from the agenda today what's actually happening. But there needs to be transparency about it, at least with the community, particularly when we're consulting on deferring and delaying them, which I don't support, but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You don't...
Okay. Look, why don't we... why don't we issue an instruction to me, go back up to, once you get to that one, put in another 5 and put, now I can't say this for all of them, but that the annual plan consultation document provide an update on the implications for both the Sumner and Ferry Road master plans. And I know that we could do it for those two, and that they're the two that are the most advanced.
You need to put Woolston Village. It's
the
Woolston
Village, sorry. I call it Ferry Road. The Woolston and the Woolston Village component of the Ferry Road master plan. Yep.
I'd suggest that if we're going to do that for Sumner and Woolston, or Ferry Road, we probably need to do it for all of the master plans, because there are...
It's not possible.
Is DCL not looking at all this stuff?
Yes, and we've got 2 workshops, and they're both in March. So I can't do this for all of them. I just want to do it for Sumner and Woolston. Littleton doesn't... It's not... I'm
thinking of more than Littleton, though. I mean, there are master plans right the way across the city,
and
all of which are important to those communities that were well consulted. And I mean, yes, they're a snapshot in time of the community opinion at that time, and yes, there's probably an opportunity for some refreshment and some change, but I think if we're going to be explicit about 2 or 3 master plans, we need to be explicit about them all. Otherwise, we're creating an inequitable situation. Yes, Sydenham and Littleton came first.
Take it out. I'm not going to have it in there.
If we're going to do some, we need to do all, I think.
Then can I just ask, the Sumner one's actually ready to go, so there's no reason to delay it. My understanding is the staff will not be letting the contract until the draft annual plan is approved 1st of July, and if we defer it, it's certainly not going to be 1st of July, it's going to be a year or 2 years away. So I personally, if today is the day where we actually make the decision on whether it goes ahead, and my understanding is it was all ready to go ahead, so if you want a resolution to do that, I'll move it today.
Okay, move an amendment.
So-
I'm looking for help here. I thought that,
Can I have a suggestion? It just seems to me, sorry.
yeah,
So the Sumner Master Plan has, in terms of the design, the overall design's been done. It hasn't yet gone to tender. The detailed design is being done. And the staff there are saying that if the 500,000 was brought forward from 1819 and from 1920 into 1819, then once the tender was out, it would enable the work to progress over the next 18 months.
18 months. But this is so different to what we've been told.
Planting seasons. So by December, yes, 18.
It's just like, the problem is like what we're getting told now is so different to what we got told at the community board when we signed it off. So we signed it off following a public consultation and a process on the expectation that that work would be done, on a commitment that that work would be done by the time something happened.
we're going to have to do some more work on it. I'm going to adjourn the meeting, so we'll come back to, we'll set up a time to conclude this. So, can you just give me explicitly what it is that you want to have the council make a decision on today?
Sure.
So that I can get staff to come back and tell us what the, rate impact is and, what the... Sorry?
Adjourning to later this afternoon.
I don't know. I haven't got time this afternoon, so we might have to come back tomorrow. But anyway, I'll work out a time in a minute. Can somebody please just sort out exactly what it is that you want staff to include in a resolution for the annual plan on this matter? Shall we just take a 10-minute adjournment, get that sorted? We can possibly commit another. There won't be enough time for a full debate on the plan, so we'll have to come back at another time. So, do we want to try and actually formulate it now, or shall I just adjourn it now and find another time to meet?
Try for now.
Just adjourn it now. That's fine.
No, try for now.
Adjourn it now?
Just for a few minutes.
How much longer have we got now?
We've got to be at Nipurnawai by 1 o'clock.
Is this the last thing we need to discuss on this?
Yeah, no, but then we've got a debate on the actual annual plan.
Well, we don't need to. We've had the
We've
debate.
debated a lot of it
Pass
already.
All right. Okay, we'll take a 10-minute adjournment. So be back here at 12:15, and then we have a strict 15-minute time limit. I have to adjourn at 12:30.
Okay.
Because I have to be at Nipurnawai at 1 o'clock. is trying to understand how basically not to reflect on each individual one as a group around the table today. So the proposal is that community boards be invited to submit on all the master plans in their areas with a view to ensuring that the budget reflects the priorities for those areas. Now, sitting behind that will be the briefings that we are going to have with DCL, who've done some preliminary work but have some more work to do. And also probably later on, this is to be, reflected. This is to ensure that the budget reflects the priorities for those areas. So that means to make sure that it's into the annual plan. So for adoption by the when the annual plan comes back for finalisation. But what will also be sitting in behind, and just to reflect some of the conversations we've had, is an ideal of having a joint workshop with the community boards and the council together, so that we've got that full understanding about the work that's being done on them. Some of the master plans are already out of date, some of them need to be updated, and some of them just need to be got on with. So there will be different views expressed by different community boards in relation to theirs. There are areas that don't have master plans that ought to have a regeneration plan, and that will come out of the discussion as well. Sarah?
Can I just check that with the looking at ensuring that the budget reflects the priorities for those areas, is that for the areas of each master plan? I know, because our board would struggle to prioritise, for example, between Limerick and Launceston.
No, you don't have to prioritise between two, you prioritise each one.
Yeah, because we have 5.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I was out of the room. I've just had a good chat with staff. So my understanding, like the Wolfston Village one, that there is money that we can do the planning, and we can sort that out with talking to the community board in time for the final annual plan decision. The one that is ready to go is Sumner, and we would be delaying it if we change the budget as per what's currently on the LTP. So my understanding is that staff could go to tender very quickly if we're not signalling that we're deferring the funding, and personally that would be my preference, and I think the rates impact would be pretty negligible. Don't know exactly what it would be, but I did have one thing that I was going to raise for that, which may be a bit cheeky, but I hope my colleagues will just allow me just to raise it, and it may be a solution, was that we did, I thought, put money on for the Worsley-Cashmere Road intersection, which I don't know what year that's in. It may be that that's out in a year given what's happened, and therefore there may be a possible swap which wouldn't have any rates impact.
Can we just ask staff, because we may have brought that forward anyway.
Anyway, it was just a...
It's been pushed out.
I see, right, sorry.
Can we just ask staff about where the Sumner...
Where's the Sumner Village Master Plan
So
project?
staff seemed happy to bring $500,000 forward.
Yep.
So that we can start work.
Into this financial year.
Into the there's money, this current one, so bring it forward into the 17-18. It was proposed to be deferred, bringing 500 from 19-20 into 17-18.
Yeah.
And then you've got it, instead of $1 million in one hit, you've got 2 lots of 500.
Yeah.
It would allow construction to continue
One's
in the
this
process.
financial year that we're in now.
We're already working.
It's already in here.
For the draft annual plan financial year, Sarah's correct, then have 500k, slightly more than 500k for 17-18 and another 500k for 18-19 to complete the construction for the Sumner
P1.1.
Do we need anything in here to say that?
Yeah.
Do we? Do we need, what do we need?
There was a draft. Adie's got it.
Can I just check, before we do that, because my understanding is, again, that will delay that project and it will put it over 2 years. So, I mean, what would be the current budget impact of just keeping it on the existing LTP track? which would, it's $500,000 difference over a year.
Well, I think you need to separate the budget from actually materially delay the project. So the staff advice is having it paid over those 2 years won't materially delay the project any more than the challenges that the project already has, which aren't budgetary, they are technical challenges.
And we've heard that they're not challenges that have been brought to the board at this point, so the board didn't know that there was a delay.
So when would we go up for tender if we agree to this amendment?
So
the end of the year.
This is not what's being proposed, is it? That funding remain as currently programmed in the LTP.
In the LTP is what Yanni's asking, but what's being proposed is 500.
So maybe I can give you the wording that what we're proposing is to rephase from 2019-20 500,000 into 2017-18 for the Sumner Village Centre Master Plan P1.1.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to move that.
Where's it coming from? Okay, so
so not this one.
So that's Yanni's amendment, and what's yours, Sarah?
Oh, it's actually not having the million in one hit. It's having over 2 years. It's just bringing one lot of 500 forward from the.
So
it was what staff are recommending.
The year 16-17 is irrelevant to this annual plan, so I don't know why that number's there at all. Leave that out. So you're wanting the 1.037 million for 17-18, and you're saying you can split it across the 2 financial years.
Staff were advising that there wouldn't be any material difference in delivering the project if we split it over 2 years.
Split the expenditure. No.
No, I won't, because we've got the 408 in this year, and we can go out to tender.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can we have the wording that is agreed?
So the amount for 17-18 is $537,030.
Hang on, $537,000
and $30, really?
What?
And then 500,000 for 18-19.
And then, so we're not noting that the Sumner Village project.
The one thing I did want, if that's going to be what we agree to, is that we can bring forward the funding if it can be constructed sooner. In 18, like we can bring forward the 18-19 funding if required.
We can't.
No.
That the Sumner Village Master Plan, take out the words project P1.1 and then leave in the word funding, so delete up to funding.
Is rephased.
It's rephased.
Oh, is rephased as follows.
To enable tender and construction to proceed. Yeah.
Follows to enable tender and that's rephased.
Yeah, it's spell check. Keeps changing.
Yeah. As follows, to enable, and then delete the words up to tender. No, delete the words up to tender, up to, yeah. To enable, take out the words remain as currently programmed in the LTP. Yep. And then take out that IE and put a colon instead of the full stop. Cool. Right. Is that good? Okay.
So what's the rates impact of doing that?
The impact of all the changes that's been approved is to increase the rates in the 18-19 year, not the annual plan year, from 5.5 to 5.53.
Right.
But no change in the annual plan year at all?
No.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so, so you'd like to move this, Sarah? Will you second that, Yanni?
Yeah. I mean, the only question I had was, if construction can happen quicker, my understanding is we should have a process to bring forward funding if, we can actually tender and contract it to be constructed, so.
So would that have an impact on rates for the annual plan year?
What?
If we brought funding forward?
No, like at the end of it, if we contract it and we can get it done quicker, is there a change proposal or something that can come through to us?
Well, I mean, that you can. There's
Okay.
there's a process for doing that if you need to, but it's not.
Fine, I'm happy
It's
to
not
second
something
it.
we would
Yep.
vote on here.
Doesn't
All
solve
right.
the project.
So I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried. And now it's 12:27. So.
Can I just remind councillors that if they're going to offer up their colleagues' projects that had already been delayed, I think it's important.
I'm not going to let that happen. We are.
Well,
either
it
gonna-
happened
No, we're either going
without any
We are going to either adjourn the meeting, Tim, and come back and have a debate on it, or we're going to just put the motion to a vote. So, so we've got the annual plan as amended. And it's been moved and seconded, and I would like to put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. And Aaron? Aaron, no. So, so that's carried. Now the next step in the process, could you just remind us what happens next, because you'll be coming back to us with the consultation document just for final sign-off.
Yes, we will.
On the 9th of March.
Yes.
And then it will go out for public consultation, and so the public can expect to see this hitting the traps at about on the 20th of March, and they will be invited to be making submissions on the draft annual plan. So this is on the consultation document, which will be attached to all the information that will sit behind it. Right. Okay. So so thank you very much, and I know that staff have put in a tremendous amount of work to bring us to this point. The task is not yet over, so we've got a wee way to go. So thank you to everyone for all of the work that you've done, and for colleagues too. I know that these things are never easy, but we've got there at 12:29. I'd like to declare the meeting closed. Thank you.
And we're only mentioning